Everything is working to me. Cool. So, what do we got today? Well, in my quest to find some cool monsters for my Battletech stuff to fight, I came across these. So, these are the Arn Hive from Maker's Cult. They're like tyranid, robot, abomination kind of automaton things. They're very fun. Um, this kind of like monster from like Virus, which is probably a movie nobody knows anymore, but this kind of monster I always love these kind of like a pieced together kind of like reanimated corpse robot things. A huge fan of that trope. So, because of that, I saw these and I was like, "Oh, these are awesome. Absolutely, absolutely love them." And they go really well with the automatons that we built and painted before. So what I figured I would do is I would work some of these up and get some pretty cool like monsters. One for these automaton guys for one-page rules. Also, they make really cool sized monsters for BattleTech. So if you wanted like abominations for BattleTech Gothic or something like that, they would be like literally perfect. Um, Absolutely just perfect for it. So, and also to put them in scale with the stuff from Full Spectrum Dominance. There's one of my guys that I've got all painted up there. So they're really good scale for that too. So I figured these would kind of be a fun kind of multi use kind of project where I could use them in kind of two different scales. I thought that was really, really neat. So my printer is having a little bit of trubs, um, but I did manage to get two of these guys all printed up. There are some other models in this line. There's like a living kind of cannon, like rocket pod guy that I started to print, but he failed. Some really big ones. Pretty much any Tyranid like model, there's like an approximation for it in this Arn Hive, which is really fun. So I've got this guy here who I started to kind of get together. I figured he would be our guy to work on today. So first off, uh, I'm doing the like white skin with like the purple highlight, like my other automaton guys have. So we need to get that running on this guy too. So first off, we're going to start with that color. Because I originally tried painting the other one, I started with the metal, and it didn't work because all the flesh is kind of like down in the divots, and the metal's sort of like all around it. So it's much easier to start with the flesh and then kind of like work down or work on top of that to the metal, right? So I always talk about order of operations. It's kind of one of those. We're saving ourselves some headache for the future here. So this is Company Gray from Army Painter. Um, yeah, I still am super in love with the new Army Painter. What are they called nowadays? Fanatics War Paints. Absolutely wonderful. They cover like a dream. They're nice. Have a good consistency. If you paint too much on, like I always do, they self-level a good bit. Yeah, they're pretty spot on perfect as far as paints go. So just trying to hit everything. This is going to mean that some of the details going to be a little bit hard to see doing it in white, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. We'll get there. That's all we can ever do. Let's try. So yeah, just trying to make sure there's a base coat of white, and then we'll start picking out some of the armor color. You can see on the other guy I did, I'd used a couple different armor colors, and I kind of want to do that on this one too. I like that idea of um, like mechanical pieces and armor and stuff kind of being all over the place, right? And not like being a uniform thing, like all the armor is brown, and like that. I don't really want to do that. I want it to be kind of more varied from model to model, right? So like this guy has like iron colored head and some red armor bits. He's got a bunch of silver mechanical pieces, right? And you can see these guys here. They've got a bunch of kind of more coppery bits of armor mixed in. They've also got a bunch of rust. I'll get some rust on this guy too. Um, and then they have kind of like a tube color. I guess the tube color on these guys is actually a little different than the one I used on this guy. So maybe I'll update that. This looks like Jade from Pro Acryl to me. So maybe we'll update that. Get them kind of all using the same tube color as well. So, all right, so we got some base down. Let's go ahead and let's start blocking in some other stuff. So this is Rough Iron, again from War Paints. Their metals are fantastic, and I love them. That's a piece of popcorn. All right. And yeah, gonna just start blocking in some of the color. Shoop. Right, because we can see that we lost a lot of detail and just making everything white made it all really hard to see. So I'm going to start blocking it in and bringing that back, making it easier to see. What we could do is anytime you have like a white base like this, you're having trouble seeing it, we could hit it with a wash, but I feel like I have a good enough idea of where the details are that I'm not going to worry about it. And honestly, because this guy is like an automaton abomination, if I miss some details or accidentally hit him or something, I'm not going to stress too much, right? And maybe it's just a section of metal that skin had grown over or something like that. Maybe it's more metal kind of poking through the skin in one area more than another. Um, there's a whole bunch of reasons like that this guy might not be super consistently colored. Because I mean, he's some kind of horrible tyranid flesh abomination. So, yeah. So we're not going to worry about it too much. That being said, we still want to try to do our best. And it's going to be a couple rounds of painting and cleaning up, and then painting and then cleaning up again until we get there. So, but gonna just start blocking in our colors. And yeah, this will be a couple rounds, and then we will actually go through the model and just pick out some of the stuff in that, I guess, color it's supposed to be jade. So I guess we'll switch the other guy to that. I thought I used a blue, but I guess not. Um, but yeah, we'll go through and just start picking some of that out too. So wind up with some pieces colored that color where they probably shouldn't be, etc., etc. Okay. So, yeah. Here we go. There's a piston there. There's a piston here. You got this foot here. There's another piston on this side. There we go. And he's got this big cod piece. Do that too. like that. And then you can look at his jaw. He's got like a metal kind of jaw. This one's got kind of like a big dog collar too, which is pretty cool. We'll do the dog collar in silver. Yeah, we'll actually make his bottom teeth not silver on this guy. Will that make him look just doofy? I don't know. Let's see. What happens if we make his teeth just that color instead? Maybe that looks doofy. Alright, we'll probably pick those teeth out then. But he's got these little starts of shoulder pad things here. Soup. Soup. Go. And then we got... This one's actually got like full arms. The other one of the arms is like... that I picked for him is kind of broken. So, yeah, one of the cool things about these kits is they're fully modular. All of the Maker's Cult stuff is. I've actually never made any of the Maker's Cult stuff before. It seems really nice because it's all modular, um, which is super cool. They have a lot of really cool guard stuff too. Um, so if you want like kind of like just generic sci-fi troops, they have a lot of really cool options. A lot of really cool like power armor kind of mech sort of things that go with it too. But yeah, I've never actually done any of their stuff before. Man, it's really nice. Um, so these guys, I showed off the size comparison earlier, but they're I just printed them at 100%. I didn't do anything weird with them. Some of the other ones, I'm actually going to scale them down a little bit because I think they'll fit the BattleTech scale a little better then. Um, I think they'll look kind of cooler with BattleTech stuff if I scale them down a little. So like that missile pod guy, for example, I'll probably print him at like 75% or something. He's a fairly large mini. Um, I kind of want to have like I don't know, like a crew of like three of them in a group and have them just be like artillery kind of in the background. I think that'll be pretty neat. Yeah, Maker's Cult's one of those companies that I was really aware of, but like I I hadn't bought any of their stuff because they weren't on my mini factory, but I guess they are now. So that's where I got these. So because I really like 99.99% of the STLs I get are all on my mini factory these days. Just because it's so nice to have kind of like all my STLs in one searchable location. Like that's so dope. Just I can go in there and be like one page rules and it shows me all my one page rule stuff or whatever. It's really cool. Um, I know there's like other things like cults and there's another one that's like maker or something. But I've never really like I use them from time to time, but very rarely. I was always under the impression that my mini factory is actually really expensive, but I heard it's only something like $40 a month to have your own store there. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that's what I heard. And I'm like, well, damn, okay, that's uh pretty awesome then. And yeah, I think they take some of the money from the producer, but I mean, honestly, what they're getting is really dope. Just having like a one environment to do things, like that's so great. Like I know that definitely convinces me to buy more STLs than I probably would otherwise. You know, just being like, oh, I can buy this now and I'll look at it later. You know what I mean? Or, oh, I'll buy this while there's a sale on, and when I need to print this, I can come and get it, kind of thing. And it's really nice. All right, we are getting there. Okay. All right, coming along, coming along. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of like cables and metal and stuff in here. Um, and honestly, it's easier to pick out once the other things are kind of painted. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on some of the other areas, and then we'll come back to that because you can kind of see it on this guy, right? Like there's some metal like strips and some wires, and but it's all kind of like worked into the flesh. Um, so I didn't 100% worry about like making sure I had everyone painted right because it's kind of like they're going in and out of his skin there in that area. So I picked this red. This is burnt red from Pro Acryl. Just because it's a nice dark red, and I thought the dark red would give a nice um, counter's the wrong word. A nice like contrast to the blue I was using for the cables. But I guess I'm using the wrong color for the cables. So, but I still think this red will be a nice little bit of color on these guys who otherwise are just kind of flesh and metal colored. So on the other smaller automatons, on these guys, they have their clothes to give them some different colors. So a bunch of them have like red cloaks or like brown pants or whatever, right? These guys don't have any clothes. They're all natural. So that means that we kind of want to work some other color in there, right? So it's not just metal and skin. So I wanted to at least get something else in there. And I thought this red was nice. I like this red a lot. This is a red I use for a lot of different things. Um, just because it's a nice kind of like dark, kind of rich red, right? Like it's not a very bright red. You know what? We'll actually do this whole. Do we want to do? Yeah, let's do it. We'll do this elbow as well. There we go. You know what? We'll actually do the shoulder too. This will be a whole like red arm thing he's got going on. I think that'll be pretty dope. And you can see this red cover is really nice, but sometimes if you want it to be a little brighter is the wrong word, a little stronger in color, you just hit it with a second coat. It strengthens right up really nice. There we go. Alright, and that is quite a few sections on him as red. So I don't think I'm going to do any other red. I think we'll just, as I keep punching the camera with my eyeglasses, I think we'll just do tighten these areas up a little. There we go. Okay. Cool beans, cool beans. Okay. Next up, let's get some silver in there so we can start picking out stuff like his spine and that kind of stuff. Some of the pistons and all of that. go. Yep, and start getting some of these many details on him. He's got a whole ton of details. There we go. Now with the details, we don't really want to like consistently pick them out. This is going to sound really silly to say, but it's true. We because this is kind of like a flesh horror abomination kind of thing, and we really want it to be kind of like disheveled. We don't want to, for example, be like, oh, every joint is painted this way, and every plate of armor is painted that way. And trying to get away from that mentality is really hard because our brains really like structure. So trying to paint like inconsistently is very tough. I say that especially for me. Like I have a really hard time trying to do that. Um, it's one of the things that makes regular Tyranids so hard for regular people to paint, myself included. It took me 2 years to come up with a color scheme I like for my Tyranids. It's one of the things that makes them so hard because nature has like crazy like consistency and um like things are like measured and there's tons of like mirroring and all this kind of awesome stuff, but the truth is it's very hard for us to like notice it, um because the way that like it does it is different than how we think about it a lot. So you'll have something where like the colors on a beetle will move from its body to like its armor to its claws, for example, and they all kind of be like one color, right? But like there's a symmetry and like to the color. I'm probably not explaining this very well, but um like our brains will be like, oh, the armor panel should be one color on the beetle, and then its legs should be a different color. When in truth, like that's not how it works. It kind of just goes all the way down and moves from one to another kind of deal. My husband left the refrigerator open. If anyone heard that beeping, that's what that was. And this pipe thing that you like ripped out of the ground or out of a building or something, this has, this is not him, so it's a nice way to get maybe another color that he doesn't have in there already. So what we'll do is we'll grab a different color and work it onto this pipe in some spots, maybe like some of the fittings or something. I think that's probably a nice way to get a little bit of extra color down there. But yeah, if you look at people's Tyranids, for example, lots of times you'll see them and they'll paint kind of like all the fleshy bits and then they'll paint the shell. And it's really popular in Tyranids to even do like a shell highlight where like the shell has like ends and lines, but like that's not how things are colored in the real world. Um, so it always kind of looked a little weird to me. People are painting them like they're tanks or something. So, yeah. But, I mean, people don't like painting that way. It goes against the, like, orderedness of our brain. So, makes sense, But similar thing here, right? Like this is trying to paint disheveled is very hard. A lot harder than you think it would be for just like, oh, it means I'm just going to paint inconsistently. Like, yes, but it's a challenge and a half. All right, let's see. How are we looking? There's like a joint thing down here in the arm. There we go. And this arm's got one too. There we go. Like All right, coming along, coming along. We'll paint that in too. Okay, get in there. Let's do some touch-ups now, I think. And then what we'll do is we'll do the jade, and then we'll come back and do the skin touch-up, and then we'll let him sit for a little bit. And yeah, I'll talk about my BattleTech table and stuff while we let him sit. Um, there's been some updates on that, but they're kind of weird, so yeah. Let's do the jade, I guess. Pretty sure this color looks a lot like that color to me, so. Am I wrong? That looks pretty fucking close. Alright, we'll go with the jade. Okay, so he's got this guy here in the back, like this cable thing here, going to like some kind of gauge, and then let's see. This is technically a piston, but I would like some more of the jade color like down further in the leg there. So technically a piston, but it'll do. Let's see. That might be muscle or it might be cable. So we're going to make it cable. Same thing with this. And there. Yep, we're just going to declare that that's cable going through the skin now. Um, have any of that on the arms? Kind of. There's a little divot in here. We can hit that as well. Let's see. Is it that part on his spine? Like maybe this one is showing through. Oh, we've got another one in the arm here. We'll do that one too. There we go. And then we'll kind of keep that running and we'll do this one too, even though this is probably a piston and not cable. All right. Okay, so we got some of the green there. Same thing. We'll hit this, even though this is probably a piston and not cable, but just so we can have some more kind of standing out there, we'll hit that there too. Okay. Coming along, coming along. Next big thing we need to hit is the white. So the white's going to be a lot of touch up for this because it's probably the hardest one in here. The white would not be so hard to paint if I had primed them in a lighter color, but I primed them in black because originally my concept for order of operations for painting these was actually to dry brush them silver from black. Um, And I tried that on the other model, and I was not a fan of it. Did not like how it looked. So yeah, it just wasn't coming along. So that's why we ended up with black. When I print more of these out, they'll be getting primed in like a light gray instead, and that'll make this white level a lot easier and a lot more consistent. Right, you can kind of see it's all over the place with coverage and stuff, but after we do washes and stuff, that's not gonna matter. It's just I'm gonna be super honest, it's gonna look like crap until it gets at least one wash on it, because there's gonna be more than one with this. Alright, and this actually I think is flesh. So we're going to paint some of that in as flesh too. Here on the inside of the arm. This looks like flesh to me. So there we go. I know I just said I'm going to paint in the flesh and then I immediately swapped back to the bronze, but I'm just doing stuff as I see it, I guess. There we go. And we'll have to hit a couple more areas with the bronze, I guess. So I'm not going to worry about that until we come back to it then. Which will be the next step. Yeah, you can see going out of the inner outer kind of painting flow, you can see it's means that when I try to paint some of the inner stuff, I hit some of the outer stuff, right? So I always try to paint from the inside out like you're getting dressed. Okay, that's still pretty rough looking, to be honest. But I'm gonna stick with it. Oh, we got some more white under the arm here. That should be white. We're gonna stick with it, and we're gonna get the last couple areas cleaned up. Then we're gonna let him sit for a couple minutes, and then we'll start our washes off. He should come to life then. Fingers crossed. Go. Just grabbing some of those details again because we hit them with the white. So, all right, let's see. We got red here because we screwed up this upper top of the shoulder here. All right. Okay. See, I've touched a couple areas and kind of rubbed some off, so we're gonna just reinforce that a little. There we go. Okay. A couple areas we've got to hit with the copper, and then I think he's good to sit for a couple of minutes while we do something else so he can get ready for washes. So I don't want to do any kind of washes if he's still a little bit wet. So, and for anyone that's not aware, it is winter time, even in Hawaii. So that means that stuff dries a little bit slower than normal. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, pretty happy with that. Alright. Oh, I said I wanted to do some other kind of weird color on his pole. Let's get some army green on there. This is army green. Um, it's just kind of like a generic kind of green. I just thought it would be nice to have another color on here that isn't tied to him. So with the other guy, for example, he has some texture paste and some different brown and stuff on his weapon. I'll show it off in a sec. So I thought this guy would be nice to have another bit of kind of like a varied random color. And army green is a nice one. So we'll do kind of like the ends of this pipe in it. Yeah, just to get a little more different color on there, you know. But yeah, you can see this guy. He's got like this mallet that he made out of like metal and rock, and that's I put some texture paint on it, and then I painted it gray too. So now, while we're gonna give him a minute or two. I want to look at my BattleTech table real quick again. We were looking at this last weekend, as kind of as far as I got. So we have the 3D printed roads down on the 8x8 tiles so that 9 of them go together to make a 2x2. All the roads are properly aligned in the middle, and put foam down on the sides to kind of lift them up so that it's a little more consistent with the height of the road. And then we magnetized all the buildings onto the foam. Now, this is coming along well, right? You can see the magnets work good. This building's a little different as I rip the magnet out of it. But I really don't think I can do a good job getting the foam to line up because like it's not quite to the edge, and it just I don't know. It feels like I screwed up somehow with it, and I just really just don't like that. So I have kind of another idea for this, and that's ferrous sheets. So I have some coming, and they get here this week. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to replace this foam with ferrous sheets. And what that means is since I magnetize the building, I'll be able to put them anywhere on the sheet. So we're going to give that a try and see. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like I hit a little bit of a roadblock because I really just don't like working with that foam. Let me rephrase that. I like working with the foam. I don't feel like I can do a good enough job with it to where I will be happy with the end result. So we're going to try something else. And we're going to see how it goes. And fingers crossed it's going to work well. But we'll see. You know, that's all we can do is say. Oh, that guy needs some rust. Let's do some rust while we wait for his friend to dry. There we go. All right. Now, I've got stuff like Dirty Down, and everyone loves Dirty Down. But honestly, I've always had such weird mixed yeah. I've always had such weird mixed results with it. And I've actually had things like it turn white and stuff. And because of that, I don't really like to use it. So what I like to do is I like to basically do my own kind of rust like process. So we start off with some dark rust from Army Painter. And this is a slightly textured paint. It's kind of like a dark brown. You can see it's going on and kind of leaving a texture behind. Um, it's just kind of like a brown, kind of rusty color. So it's not going to show up super well on the kind of like the the darker brown armor, but you're still going to be able to see it. It's just not going to be as noticeable. So we'll just put it around a couple of spots. I don't want to go super crazy with the rust, but I do want a little bit because I do think it is fun, you know. And yeah, just kind of stippling it in a little bit here and there. Um, yeah, we'll just kind of see how it goes. There we go. All right, now let's actually get some on this guy too. Um, while we wait for washes anyway. Do I want to do these now? No, not really. I prefer to do that later, after, so that the process matches between the two models. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna mix ourselves up a overall tone for him. Um, we're gonna do this with dark tone. So another Army Painter thing, dark tone, 3, and then I would like to use some speed paint medium for this because I think it works better than the actual tone wash. But to be honest, I'm like totally out of it, so we'll try to get some. What I'm looking for is like a 50-50 mix. Alright, that's about as close as we're going to get. Yep, and then we're just going to hit everything with it. So, pretty much every area, all over. Just nice, kind of like trying to get it a shadow, because the wash we're going to do on the skin later is really we're really using it like a filter, more than using it to give shadow. We're using it to like tint this white color. So we want something to get some shadow in there, especially for the middle areas because they're not going to get another wash. So yeah, I just kind of want to hit it nice and quick. And I know this paint is not super cured, so I'm trying to be very gentle with this when I'm applying it. Normally I like to let the model sit for a while before I do washes, but streaming does not always allow that. So we do what we can. It's all we can ever do. Okay, let's see. A little bit there in the neck, a little bit here in his head. There we go. Alright, so that's going to be round one of our washes. Now, we're going to let that sit for a little bit. And we can actually start working on the rust now. Because the rust is not going to go on any of the white areas anyway, so it's not going to get the next round of wash. So we can actually start applying our rust now. And it will apply a little bit like waterier because the wash is on there, but that's okay. Not the end of the world. Let's see, we'll put one last one, I guess, here in this hip. Like that. Okay, cool. Alright, now our buddy's gonna sit for a couple of minutes. And we're gonna let that wash he's got kind of chill on him. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to our boy here. And his rust spots are drying. So what we want to do now is we want to take this rust boy. Ooh, a lot more than I intended there. And this is fresh rust, also from Army Painter. It is a thicker, way brighter rust color. So we kind of just want to like, oh, that's a lot there. We kind of want to like lightly kind of stipple it in to some of the areas that we have rust on. All right, we don't really want to do giant blobs of it like we did with the other one. We just kind of want little dots, little patterns. This is kind of the most oxidized kind of area, right? So, and it will stand out way more than the other one will. So we don't really want it to be super crazy everywhere. That being said, it still adds a really nice look of rust and makes the rust look way more like real, which is cool. And this is still going to get some washes over it, so this is still going to get worked down too. So if you end up getting too much in an area, it's fine, because this is still going to get a wash over top of it. Because the third part of the Army Painter wash or rust like set or rust idea, I guess, is a wash. This is like a pretty heavy brown staining wash, and I tend to put it kind of all over my rusty areas, and then also kind of around it, right? Like the area around it's being stained. That's kind of how I tend to do it. So, all right, so there he goes. He's got all his bright one on, and now we can come back to this guy. Try to speed up his drying a little bit. All right. And we're just kind of gonna keep going with it. Just gonna keep stippling. All right. If you had a piece of like sponge, like this would be very good for that. Or like a really messed up brush. This brush I'm using is like the brush I use for majority of my painting right now, but it's not a nice brush. It's a pretty beat up brush. but it's the one I do a lot of my painting with at the moment, so, but it'll do for this. You can see I'm just kind of like tapping it on there to try to get like spots. And again, between the two models, I want to make sure that the rust spots are not in the same areas always, right? I don't always want to be like, oh, they have a rust spot on their face or whatever. You know what I mean? That's not what I want to do here. I want them to vary between the models. It's like this guy doesn't have any rust on his spine, for example, and the other guy had several spots of rust on his spine. But yeah, oh, we got some more here. Okay, so he's got some rust spots then. Kind of actually like to do one here in this collar. I think we'll go backwards a little bit, and then I'll go get the other rust again. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So he's got to sit for a couple more minutes. Now the next step for the rust is going to be this guy. And this is that really heavy staining brown wash that I mentioned. And we're pretty much going to do all of the rust spots with this and then kind of the area around it, right? There's like a like if you get like a bug bite and you draw a circle around it, that's kind of what we want to do with the rust wash. Or like the like areola to a nipple kind of thing, right? We kind of want to get like the area around it, but kind of centered on the rust itself. All right, let's see. This guy, yeah, really don't know 100% what color I used for these. I should go back and watch my video on these. So I don't, yeah, it's that jade. It is 100%. Okay. All right, which means we need to update this guy to that jade, so we can do that. We can do that, even though this color is pretty close. It's more blue. But because it's pretty close, as long as we get most of it, it'll look fine. So I don't have to super worry about like amazing coverage here. It's not like we're going from like, pink to blue or something like that. Colors are pretty close, so as long as we get it a little bit more shaded, it'll be fine. I wonder if I should do the inside of this mouth, this color too. Kind of feel like I should do the inside of the mouth too, this color. Yeah, I like that. We'll do that on the other guy too. His mouth is going to be harder to get into though. Because it is not as open. Still got there in the end. Still got there in the end. Okay, let's do his purple wash now. So this one's going to be another mix. Now, I would like to use speed paint medium for this again, but as I showed off earlier, I don't have any left. So we're going to actually use the wash medium. Now, I don't really like this stuff as much. This is Purple Tone from Army Painter again. This is their quick shade wash medium medium or something. It's the one for the shades, really. I really like this much better, the speed paint medium. I think it makes the washes flow a little better, personally, than this. So, but we work with what we got. Just next time I get to a hobby store, I'm buying another bottle of the other one. So I did 3 drops of purple to 2 drops of medium. Um, and this will pick it up a little bit for us. So you can see some spots are still kind of wet. That's just a side effect of not waiting enough, to be honest. But I want to get this done because we're on stream. So we're just going to go with it. But he's a horrifying monster bug abomination. So honestly, you're not going to notice it if some of his dark areas aren't quite as dark as his brother because I didn't let his wash dry as long. Right? So you can kind of see him just going through and just kind of like tap applying this to the purple areas. Um, I do kind of want it to pool a little bit. I think the pooling kind of staining, like coffee stain effect, actually looks pretty cool on like gross skin. So I kind of want to keep that going. Like I don't mind that effect, right? It's not like I'm trying to prevent it from like discoloring an armor panel or uniform or something like that. All right, this is some nasty ass monster bug skin. So if he gets discolored, that's kind of the goal. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the goal. Now I'd painted down along things like the spine and all, so I want to make sure that I hit those as well. Go. And yeah, that's pretty much our purple wash all done. Oh, we gotta get inside the head here. Gotta feed your brain. Okay, so that's gonna be our purple wash. That's gonna take a good bit to dry. So we're talking about a wash on top of a wash here. So we're talking a good bit to dry for that. But let's bring out some of our rust tone and go play with that. And yeah, I still use one of these silicone popper things as my palettes. I love these. I actually bought some of these that were like rainbow dinosaurs. They're really cool, but they were gigantic. I wanted them to be small like this, but no, they were just way too big. All right. So rust tone, again, army painter. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of hit our rusty areas with this, kind of all over them. And then we're going to hit the areas around the rusty area too. Because not only does this like sort of distort the rust, but we also kind of want it to stain the area around and make it look like our area is more rusty, right? It's just the other rust has not manifested as much. All right, and now the importance of this is also to make sure that we go across materials. So I don't really want this on the skin because the skin wouldn't really get rusty. But for example, like this here, right? I'm gonna do not only am I going to do this brown area, I'm going to do down into some of this silver area here, like that. So that way it's kind of like it's bleeding, right? It's bleeding onto the other material. And that's what we really want this rust tone for, is that kind of effect. Okay, let's hit our other boy with his rust tone. Because that purple is definitely not dry, like he's like actively like dripping wet still. But the rust should be dry enough for us to keep going. Now, one of the things you can do with rust, like kind of after this stage, is actually hit it with like a silver dry brush, and you get kind of this really neat effect where it looks like the rust kind of like wore off in some areas, like on the sharpest edges, and it looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna do that on this guy, but it is a cool thing. It does look neat. So something to think about when if you do yours in a similar manner. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, now we got some little bit of pooling, so we're gonna clean it up a tiny bit. Like I said, I like the coffee stains on these guys. I think they're good, but I don't want it to be too much. I don't want it to look like he's made out of like chasms, you know what I mean? But a little bit of coffee stains what is good. So like that dot there in the chest, that was too much. All right, we'll let our friend sit and dry for a minute, and we'll go back and look at our other boy. This is the one that I painted off stream, but we did the rest together. All right, and we can see him with his automaton friend here. He's kind of the big brute support to these guys. I like these guys a lot. These are from War Games Atlantic. They're just phenomenal minis. Just tons of personality and stuff, and really cool bad guys. So these make really cool like additional monsters for them. Like if you wanted to use them for like one-page rules or something, um, they make really cool. Or Stargrave, they're pretty much like ideal for Star. Well, I guess these are from Stargrave, but these guys are like ideal for Stargrave. There's even a bigger like abomination monster in this rule set for the abominations that these guys would fit perfectly for. Oh, and I did mention that these guys are from uh um Maker's Cult. But I didn't mention what these are called. These are the Brutomorphs is what they are. Since I have some left over, just gonna come in here and hit a couple areas. Just gonna get it to be a little more kind of purpley in some spots because that's kind of gross. And this might not even show up. I don't know if it will. Just kind of like a spur of the moment thought because I got it on the palette, you know. But yeah. So that's that guy. This is the guy that we painted together today. There he is. They make quite the nice pair. This guy is still soaking wet, but as he dries, he'll look more like the guy on the left. And yeah, there they are. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Thank you guys for watching me paint these really cool automaton monsters. I hope you have a good one. Um, yeah, I've got a whole bunch more of these automaton monsters I'm gonna print. Super excited about it. They're very fun minis. And they'll work great for Battletech too, which is very cool. But I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one, and keep on keeping